Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale through AI and visibility solutions. I'm excited to have you here with us. So if this is your first time, welcome to the podcast. You're in for a real treat with my guest today. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce her. So welcome Cara Thurman with Vinings Massage and Wellness to the podcast. Great to have you with me, Cara.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So can you share with us, Cara, a little bit about yourself, Vinings Massage and Wellness, and your role within the company?
Yes. So I am a licensed massage therapist in the state of Georgia. I'm also a nationally certified massage therapist, and I specialize in oncology massage therapy. In the last few years, I've also become a certified teacher and CE provider for oncology massage therapy. I am the founder here at Vinings Massage and Wellness. I started as a solo practitioner in 2012. Just in a small office in Northwest Atlanta. We have an amazing team now. I will say this is definitely my mission. I am very mission driven. I grew up with a lot of health issues. I was born with a congenital heart defect. And so I've spent a lot of time in the hospital as a young child and early adolescent and even into early adulthood. I've had open heart surgery 5 times. I know how it feels to be sick, to be scared, to be uncomfortable, to not know what the future looks like. And so part of my mission is to provide this type of care in addition to all the other care that you get in the hospital and in healthcare systems. We're working more specifically with quality of life and comfort care. And it's just something that is just super near and dear to my heart. And so we have a brick and mortar in Northwest Atlanta, and we also partner with hospital systems. We provide both patient-facing and employee-facing massage programs. We do all of the employee massage for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and for Piedmont Healthcare System across the state of Georgia. So we deploy teams all over the state. We also do patient-facing massage in infusion centers, inpatient rooms, and wellness centers. So we've got several different teams, and we're kind of the last thing we do, and this is what we're working on more in the future, is partnering with more local and national nonprofits to help fund and set up programming where we can meet the patient where they are and or the caregiver.
So you've mentioned, Cara, this is amazing. And I have a lot of questions that have come up for me just by, you sharing your journey as well as your specialty, your special certifications as well, which I'm going to ask you more about. But before we go there, let's talk about where your practice started. Because I've done my research, and you do have a pretty nice big team that you've built. And I'm sure it didn't start that way. So your practice has grown from a standalone, like you were sharing, brick and mortar wellness services into programs integrated with hospital settings. So what inspired you to bring massage and wellness into that clinical environment?
Well, it is something that I just knew I wanted to do. Honestly, I had a lot of different careers before I went to massage school. So I worked on sailboats, and I have an undergraduate in marine conservation. I worked at field stations. I worked as a waitress. I was kind of all over the place, traveling. I just really wanted to do a lot of different things. Massage was always in the background, but I just wasn't quite ready for it. And so I was running an organic vegetable farm with a friend up in Vermont. It was the first business that I tried to launch. And about halfway through the first season, I started to have health problems related to my long-term congenital heart defect. So I was in and out of the hospital. Eventually, I ended up needing open heart surgery. And it was a fairly big open heart surgery at that point. They had to take off some scar tissue and work with rhythm issues and reroute some blood and all kinds of stuff. And so we needed to wait. The surgery was scheduled, but I had several months in the winter in Vermont to wait for the surgery. There was a lot of anxiety, just a lot of I wasn't very happy. It was a hard time. And so my fiance, who is now my husband of 17 years, at the time said to me, let's find you a massage therapist. Let's find you someone that you can work with to help with anxiety and just kind of get you through the next couple months. And so I did end up finding a massage therapist in Burlington, Vermont. I worked with her multiple times getting ready for my surgery. And then my surgery was actually in Boston, so I had to travel for my surgery. Once I was well enough to travel back up to Vermont, about 2 months after the surgery, I worked with her through the healing and just range of motion issues and pain, long-term pain, things like that. And she really, I mean, this sounds silly, but she changed my life. It was like she worked with my husband, she worked with my mom for a while. Everyone was just, there was a lifetime of this pent up energy and kind of nervousness. And we all kind of, she was just amazing with us. And so during those 3 months, 4 months of recovery, I started looking back into going to massage school, and I came across oncology massage. And oncology massage is a very specific type of massage, specifically designed for people going through cancer care and into survivorship. Although I've been working in oncology massage for over 12 years. And so I'm really looking at it as an integrated therapy into a lot of different parts of the hospital system. And in fact, there has been research that has come out for other types of areas of the massage of the hospital that can really benefit from this. So, it just became a passion project. I applied to school, I went to school, I graduated, I got my license in the state of, I think I was in Colorado at that time. And I also got nationally certified, knowing that I would likely move around some and wanted to make sure that I had the access to be able to apply for licensing in other states. And so I just always knew, and we lived in Arizona. I tried to connect with some healthcare workers. This was way back in probably 2010. And, I just really didn't get very far, but the good thing for me is it's such a mission of mine. It didn't bother me. I just kept trying. And so when we moved to Atlanta, I worked for someone else for about 6 months. And when my son was 13 months old, I opened my practice, and I
Wow.
specifically marketed towards current oncology patients, and just happened to recruit in that marketing probably a handful of cancer patients in the area. And it just kind of started there, and it grew from there. And it took me about 6 months, and then I hired my first part-time employee. And I remember telling her, like, you're going to have, all of the clients that I can't take, but I cannot promise you that's going to be many. And so it was just kind of an organic growth. I had no big loans or any kind of financial influx. I believe I started my business on under $5,000. And so it's been a growth for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like you did it the right way. You did it organically. You did it as you planned for excess. So you hired maybe before you were ready. And at the same time, you were prepared for when the growth happened. And fortunately and unfortunately, right? Oncology patients are many. Either we've been through it ourselves, or we know somebody that's gone through cancer. You can't, it's very rare to find somebody that's avoided it completely in their lifetime, whether they know somebody or they've been through it themselves. So, and when you're talking and sharing this, and I was going to ask you, what are the benefits for oncology patients, cancer patients, to have massage? But just by you sharing your journey, it's a very scary thing to be told that you're dealing with whatever stage you're in, whether it's 1 or 4 or whatever cancer you're diagnosed with. It's a very scary thing. It's like, oh my gosh, why me? Right? I'm sure a lot of people think that. Maybe you thought that going through your challenges and your surgeries, but you're like proof that things don't necessarily always happen to us. They can happen for us, even though we'd probably prefer that not to happen. But it brought you to the path of your purpose, which is really a beautiful outcome. So And I want people to take away from that. I know we're steering a little bit away from business specifically and growth, but I do think that's a big piece and a big gold nugget that we kind of forget about sometimes, is what the things are happening. We could be, especially if we perceive them as negative or challenging or scary. Why is this happening to me? Why me? In retrospect, when we can think about it, like, okay, this is what we've been given. How can I look at this, of how this is happening for me? Where is this bringing me? We may not know what that is in the moment, because right, we can't see the future. And I love how you're taking what you've been through and the fear, the things that you felt, what you've moved through, the benefits you saw from what massage gave you, which is probably lessening your anxiety, probably faster healing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Not to mention somebody that's there for you, supporting you outside of your little bubble of your family. It's not to have someone that you can just, okay, step away. Because sometimes we can get anxiety around our family because we know they're scared, right? And they're nervous.
100%. And that's actually a huge part of massage therapy for oncology patients. So we're trying to meet the patient where they are. And a lot of times we follow people through hospice care if they ask us to. That's something that we can do. And I've done that many times. And I've found that there are a lot of people, when I come and I'm working with them, especially if they're in that end of life stage, I can work with them in their home, get them comfortable in their bed or wherever they are, and they can tell me things that they may not want to tell their family right now, right? Because they want to show a strong face. They want their family to feel like they're still ready to fight and they haven't given up yet. And it's okay for them to tell me what they need to tell me to get off their chest. So we're working with quality of life. We definitely help with reduction of pain, nausea, peripheral neuropathy, all of the big cancer side effects. But even bigger than that, we're working with quality of life and long-term healing.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to talk to you about, many people see massage as a luxury rather than a healthcare support service, but you've just shared with us why it's such a beneficial piece of someone's healthcare journey, especially during treatment or in recovery. So how has the perception changed? I can see how for patients, it would be an easy, like, yes, I want to do that for myself, but how has that changed the perception in the medical professional space, you being in the hospitals?
So I think that it's obviously really helped, doctors, nurses, LPNs, all those, social workers, people that we work with, they're starting to understand the value that we bring. And what we find is when our team walks into an infusion center, oftentimes at the very beginning, when we're first launching a program, there can be some speculation, there can be some, well, what are they doing? Like, I'm taking care of the patient, I can do that. And what really has happened, which is so wonderful and beautiful, is now we walk into these infusion centers and multiple nurses come up and they say, okay, I want you to go to Bay 4. And, I already talked to Mrs. Smith about, how there's massage available today and she's very interested. She's having a lot of anxiety. She's doing her pre-meds right now. Right now is a good time to go see her. So what happens is we also take some of that burden off of overburdened healthcare workers they want to do this part, right? They want to spend the time. They want to have the time to do that human touch part, which used to be a bigger part of nursing, and they just don't have time. And so they see us as a huge value. We're still fighting that fight. There's plenty of people who we really have to help them understand this is not a volunteer service. This is not something that's, just frou-frou or nice. Like we need to get more research happening so that we're seeing the long-term recovery and the quality of life in the moment. These kind of things really matter. And they've been lost to a point in our Western medicine. Although it's an amazing system and there's so many advances that we are extremely grateful for, and at times that the person who has the disease can get lost. And that's what we're trying to come in and be that part of the team that finds them again and identifies them and says, this is about you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm thinking when you're talking, sharing all of that, about the human touch, like how important that is. We know it's really important for babies. We know it's important for humans, in all stages of our lives. But the nurses just don't have the time, unfortunately, because the demand for patient care has gone up, and it's continuously going up. And there's just not enough humans to fulfill the demand. So this is great that you offer this service, because it can supplement and support the nurses. And now they're like relieved to see you and happy to see you, because they know that you're there to support them.
Just clarify, it is a very gentle touch massage. We're targeting their nervous system. So we're really targeting that nervous system to get them out of fight or flight. What we know through research is that for so many cancer patients, from the moment your doctor says you have cancer, all the way through your treatment and even into survivorship, that fight or flight response is so all over the place. You are almost constantly in it. Even if you're having a good day, or your chemo wasn't terrible, you're still in a place where you didn't have cancer and now you are a cancer patient, and you will always be a cancer survivor. And that's a different reality. So we're working with that nervous system and really the psychosocial effects of being a cancer patient. And so we're trying to explain this to the healthcare teams. We're looking for cheerleaders within the hospital systems. We're looking for nurse navigators and social workers that really see the value in what we do and can help us present these programs for funding. So that's really most of my work these days. In addition to education and outreach and creating partnerships with nonprofits, because one of the ways we're looking at providing more services is partnering with nonprofits in the state of Georgia that can help fund programs that we can set up within healthcare systems. So say the healthcare system doesn't have a foundation or doesn't have a nonprofit that can help fund this, maybe a freestanding oncology specific nonprofit can fund the program, and the three of us together can kind of get that stood up in a brick and mortar infusion center, so that they can still have the services, but they don't have to actually find all the funding. So there's a lot of kind of nuances to it, which is why it's so important for people to understand the value and what it actually is.
So, Cara, what have been, and I shared you shared some of the challenges, but what were the biggest challenges you faced when you were introducing this, when you were just getting started wanting to move into hospitals and these centers, and how have you overcome those challenges?
So, number one challenge every day, all day, is funding. Funding. We have to have funding for these programs. We are a twofold mission program. So our mission is to provide the highest quality care to our clients and partners. And then 50% of our mission is to make sure that we were providing a long-term sustainable living wage work for our providers and our practitioners. We want our teams to thrive. We want them to be able to take care of themselves. We want them to be able to work an amount of hours that is healthy for a massage therapist, and all of the extra things on top of the physical work we do that sometimes aren't accounted for. And so it's so important that we are able to fund these programs. So we oftentimes find people that are excited about them. They're ready to go. They want to go. And it's always the funding. And we are at the point where, of course, volunteerism is a wonderful way to give back. And we do a lot of lower cost work for different nonprofits that we work with, so that we can provide zero cost to patients. And we have to be able to pay our practitioners. So we can't do this without the funding. And that is by far always the hardest part to put together. But it's not impossible. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. And we're even finding more ways in 2026 of, okay, let's work with this Georgia nonprofit. Let's get the funding there. And let's the two of us, Vinings Massage and Wellness, this nonprofit, work together with this healthcare system to provide a massage in their infusion centers. Again, it's always the funding. There were other challenges over the years, such as finding qualified oncology massage therapists. But what I did is I just became an oncology CE provider. And so now I can train oncology massage therapists. And the great thing about that for me is I have a very high standard of training. And I definitely need to know that if I'm going to be sending this team member into a hospital or into an infusion center, their professionalism is at the top of the game for massage therapy. Massage therapy is a wonderful profession, and there's a lot of varied people that come into our profession, and that's what makes it so beautiful. And we have to have people that will work at a certain level of professionalism, because we just don't have as much wiggle room as maybe some massage therapists working as solo practitioners might.
So what I want to talk about growth now, because
Sure.
Let's backtrack a little bit into funding. What are some of the ways that you're able to get funding, and is it not covered by insurance yet, or is that a possibility?
So in the state of Georgia, I would say widely it is not covered by insurance. In other states, it may be. We do not take insurance at our brick and mortar. And the reason that we don't, we would love to, but the problem is when I bill for an hour of massage, the insurance companies that I bill in the state of Georgia, or they're not, but the ones that run in the state of Georgia, they decide what they think the value of 1 hour of massage is. So I could bill them $100 and they could say that's worth $30. And so at the end of the day, I've tried a bunch of times. I have not tried in the last probably year or so. So maybe things have changed, but it's very hard for me to solely take insurance. I'm not working with a chiropractor or a physical therapist at this point, which they are a little bit easier to kind of get those codings right with. And so in Georgia, we're not looking at insurance. Most of the funding is coming from philanthropic areas. So either foundations that are connected to the hospital, or a nonprofit that's set up to fund different programs in the hospital. So that's a way that we get a lot of the funding. Some of the employee facing programs are actually funded by their employee wellness teams. So internal employee wellness will set those programs up, but that's also few and far between. Lucky that we have a couple hospital systems in the state that really see this as a huge value, and especially that children's healthcare, the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Burnout in pediatric healthcare is so high, and healthcare has changed. There are stresses that we never had before, such as people behaving certain ways that they would never behave in the past in a hospital setting. So those are funded by employee health. And the other way we do it is, so sometimes we can identify an integrative program. So more and more cancer centers specifically, there are some cardiac ones, there are some ones for neurological diseases, but certainly many more for cancer specific. We can identify integrative programming that they're trying to build. And so if they're trying to build integrative programming within the hospital system, they may have a percentage of that they can earmark for massage therapy. And once we look at that and we see, okay, how much is that going to be, then we see, do we send someone once a week? Do we send someone 4 days a week? Are we here twice a month? So we can make the program work for the funding that's identified, with the hope that as they see that ROI, their patient satisfaction scores go up, those types of programs can grow. And then I'd say the last way we've just started thinking about partnering with nonprofits that actually do not have any connection necessarily to a healthcare system, but maybe have funding to partner with us to set up these programs.
So how are you getting in front of the hospitals and your ICP, your ideal client or your ideal customer, how are you getting in front of them as far as marketing or visibility wise? And I know, you're doing this podcast. This is one way, but what are other avenues that you've tried or that you've tried that worked? And on the flip side, what are some things that you've done that maybe hasn't worked, or in your opinion, you didn't get that return that you were looking for?
So, we haven't done it for a while, but at the beginning, over the first probably 8, 9 years, we did some print marketing. Really was not a great fit for us. As you know, with massage therapy, there's a massage therapy center on every corner. So it really doesn't make sense for me to pay for an ad that goes out to X amount of miles around me, because that's really not where we want to grow anyway. We do want to keep that brick and mortar. It's a great incubator. It's a great place for people to come outside of the hospital system, but we're really just looking to grow programs and partnerships at this point. We do not want to have another brick and mortar. So when I say we, I mean, I don't want to. So what I do is I do education. I do outreach. I show up for conferences. I show up to be a vendor. I show up to just meet people. I register for the conference and then just walk through the vendor hall and see who I can find. So it's a lot of networking. I am a very extroverted person, and so it works great for me. Even sometimes when I meet someone, I follow up with emails. I try not to be annoying or like someone that people are like, oh God, this girl again, but I do try to be on a certain schedule so people aren't gonna forget, oh, we just met like 3 days ago, right? Like I don't want to wait 3 weeks to email you if I just met you at the vendor hall. Mm-hmm. So, and I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people end up being not necessarily people that help me build a program, but maybe introduce me to the next person or tell me about a conference that I didn't know about. So really it's mostly outreach. Again, we are a pretty small business. So, you may not be considered super small anymore, but we do not have a marketing budget that is outrageous. So I have to be very careful where my marketing money goes. And I definitely need to have an ROI on it. And so although my time is obviously worth money, over the years, I've been able to build a team around this being my main job. And so I have a leadership team of 2 other women, and then 2 lead therapists that also help with everything. So someone's running that studio, someone's running the HR part of the business. And this is what I do now is grow this business, do the connecting, do the that kind of stuff.
So what's next for Vinings Massage and Wellness? When we're speaking right now, we're in January 2026. So what are your big goals for the next, say, 12 months?
So, there's a couple contracts that we started to talk about in 2025. So I'm really hopeful that we will launch at least 2 to 3 more oncology massage therapy programs in 2026 in infusion centers and inpatient settings. I also am hopeful that I'll be able to secure some more speaking and engagement education kind of stuff. I really want to be able to just continue to get the word out there, because even if people don't end up working with me, I want them to know what oncology massage is, why it's different than your regular, licensed massage therapist, and how to keep patients and survivors safe while integrating massage therapy into their routines. And so a lot of people don't really know that there's any difference. And so my hope is to get on a couple more conference schedules, and I'm trying to think what else. Obviously continue to support our team. We have an amazing team of practitioners, and our oncology team is just like the most beautiful people, and they are so good with our patients, and they really care, and they work hard. And what we do is we try to support them, and we do multiple offsites every year to kind of support all of that work that people don't think about. Again, not the physical work, but the things that people tell them, the things they hold for people, and just help them make sure that they're releasing what they need to and taking care of themselves. So, continuing to support our team and grow. And we will be teaching one more oncology massage therapy class in September of 2026. So hopefully getting some more practitioners ready to get on these teams.
Amazing. So Cara, if I could give you a magic wand and you can wave it over one issue or challenge you're having right now and go poof, take it away, what would it be? What would that challenge be or issue and why?
Funding, the funding, right? I would have you wave it over, multiple different infusion centers in Atlanta, in the Southeast, across the country, and have funding to build these teams wherever, we can. I think they're hugely valuable, not only for the patients, but for the healthcare workers. And I understand that funding is not easy. And I'm not, this is the long game. Every time I meet someone where there's a chance that we're going to build a program or stand up a program, we're not talking about like a month or two. Usually we're talking about 6 months, a year, 2 years. And that's okay. I'm in for the long game. But my hope, that would be my wish, is that, somehow we could either provide that funding for them and say, hey, we've got the funding, we're coming in and doing this, or, have someone that could help us.
Yeah. So how can people connect with you, Cara, and learn more about Vinings Massage and Wellness?
So I'm on LinkedIn, which I think you'll probably put in the show notes because I sent you that. We're on Instagram and Facebook. People can email me. It's Cara@ViningsMassage.com. I think those would be probably the most helpful ways. Probably email or LinkedIn go straight to me.
Perfect. And so if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Cara and I say hello. This is a really important service. So many of us, all of us, probably know someone, either we've gone through it ourselves or we know someone who's going through cancer treatment or they're a survivor. And this is a very stressful time. Even as a survivor, you're always going through checkups to find out, like, make sure you're still in remission. So if you know somebody that could benefit from learning about Cara and Vinings Massage and their mission, because this is something that they need support on, and they can't do it alone. So we're asking, like, if you know of anybody that could use this, then share it with them. Share this episode with them and get them excited, because even if they're not in Georgia, they can talk to their caregivers in their state and see what they can create there. And yeah, Cara could be that contact or that connection or that partner to make that happen for them. And so this is really important because this is part of somebody's health that's going to help and give them a huge benefit into their healing journey. And anxiety, stress is a big issue in the health. It could really deteriorate your health. So by having this service and diminishing that stress is going to give them a big leg up into moving into remission. And if you know, and if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. We appreciate you. We'd love a review. If you feel like this has been a great episode or you love this podcast, 5 stars would be beneficial. That allows the podcast platforms to push Cara, this episode, and all of our episodes out to more people. They're spending time, Cara and all of our guests are spending time here sharing their journey, what's worked for them as far as growing their business. And Cara has a really powerful mission behind the growth of her business, and that's to help more cancer patients and also people in general, anybody going through different treatments, because this helps in all aspects of health in their healing journey and process. As Cara shared, I will have all of her links inside the show notes, so they are there. So if you're driving, no worries, we got you. You can go to ViningsMassage.com as well to check out the website. And definitely connect with Cara on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever she is, and Cara@ViningsMassage.com. Cara, before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to share that I didn't ask you or we didn't touch on today?
Well, I would just say, in response to one of the things you said in the wrap up is, we are able to set up programming in other states also. That's something that I'm very interested and willing to do. We have some parameters around it right now, but always want to work with each individual healthcare system and or space to make sure that it works for them. So like Heidi said, you don't have to be worried if you're not in Atlanta or not in Georgia. We can definitely still help and are very interested in that. And I just wanted to thank you, Heidi. This has been really fun and it's also been very helpful. So thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here. I learned a lot. And when you're not in it, and I used to, when I was younger, get massages all the time, and I know how therapeutic they are. And I think it's really important and a great conversation and something that we need to be reminded of, that this service is available and it's not just for pleasure. It's not just for the point of, oh, it's a benefit. I have this, I'm going to go get some self-care today and go get a massage. This is a real big benefit for people who are going through something that's very scary, cancer or any other diagnosis that may be very unexpected and a long road to recovery ahead. So this isn't something that you just get to add on, like we consider an add-on or I'm trying to think of the word, but luxury, like I said earlier, luxury or something we can do with our spouse or something we can do with the girls, like have a spa day. This is something that's really reaches beyond that. And I'm thankful for you and your mission. I know you had to go through quite your own journey to get here, but I'm glad you made it through. And you're using that to really fuel a big mission and purpose. And so thank you for that, because I know it's not easy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So please connect with Cara, reach out to her, go to viningsmassage.com. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.